What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Facade. I'm your host, Gavin J. Gallagher, and on this podcast, I explore the mental and emotional game often playing out subconsciously both in your mind and the mind of everyone else in the real estate or property investment market. The key to success in this game is to master your mindset and behavior, to take control of your thoughts, your emotions, and, most importantly, your ego. Welcome to the show. Guys, real quick before we begin, I want to quickly tell you about my new coaching program, Elite Property Foundations. It's officially launched as of the 1st of June, and it is now alive and kicking with members. If you are a novice property investor or you would like to be a property investor, this is the program for you. I guarantee it's going to take you from feeling nervous about what you're doing to being both highly knowledgeable and confident in your decisions. There's a load of features and benefits, so you should definitely check it out. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes below. That's all. I hope to see you inside. Now let's get on with the show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. And this intro is proving difficult to do because I'm at home preparing to go on holiday, and my little 3-year-old son is screaming at the top of his lungs. And this is my fourth attempt to record this intro. As I mentioned, I'm heading away on holiday, and I just want to introduce today's guest before I pack up and head off. This conversation I'm going to have is with Mr. Cody Tritter. Now, Cody is a real estate agent based in Calgary in Canada, but unlike so many brokers that talk about house prices and everything like that, what this conversation gets into is more the marketing side of his business. And that is because Cody really describes himself as a marketer and an entrepreneur. And so it's about running a business and marketing your business. And one of the reasons why I think everybody is going to enjoy this, regardless of whether you're from Canada, is that it's relevant to all markets. You can have the best possible product, the best offer, the best service, and it doesn't really matter if nobody is aware of you. If your amazing service that everyone who finds you loves and gives you the top marks, and you would be the best in the market if people were aware of you. But if you're kind of like hidden away and you don't do any marketing, you're never going to be discovered. And so that is one of the critical things in business, is how do you get yourself discovered? How do you get your name out there? And how do you get people buying your product or service? And so we're going to talk and dive into that. Cody is well experienced in all this stuff. There's a lot of acronyms used. I try to ask him to explain in those various places where it's a little bit difficult perhaps to understand what it means. And also we have a little bit of an audio issue. I think at the time of recording, Cody was in a sports center or something, and there's quite a bit of background noise, but I've done my best to clean it up as best I can. We also go into a little bit of the Canadian housing market and the way prices have gone there. And you will see a little bit of familiarity with your own home market here in Ireland or in the UK. It seems to be these problems exist kind of pretty much everywhere in the developed world. And now I'm going to get back to my vacation. So without further ado, my conversation with Cody Tritter. Cody Tritter, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Happy to be here.
Cody, you are I do believe you're the first Canadian we've had on the podcast. And we have a big international audience all over the world. And so there's a strong likelihood that people on the listening have not heard of you before. So please give us a little backstory. What is it that you do, and where do you do it?
Right. I think I'm a marketer. If I were to really label myself as something, I think I'm an entrepreneur marketer. I've done a lot of sales. I've done everything. Like, I used to be a photographer for a little bit. But as a whole, I'm an entrepreneur marketer. I love creating things and just growing a business, And I started in real estate in 2016. Started out solo. Realized I think I spent this is a word to the wise, or to all people that are getting into real estate. I think I spent my first month building business cards, building out a website, building all these things that I was like, this is going to be the foundation of my business. But when you get into some industries, you have no idea what you're doing and or what really is important. And so spun my wheels a little bit trying to do the things that I thought were important. And then I got aligned with a team that had a lot of experience, and I was just a sponge there, just absorb. Learned what really was foundational in our business, which is leads, consistency, and hard work, right? And really owned those, components and pillars of our business. And I partnered with my business partner now, Dusko. We've been doing it since 2018. We started off with, I think there's four of us, kind of off the initial hop, and we quickly grew to like six or seven. And then after 5 years now, we are over 30 agents on the team. So we got 30 agents under us rocking. We got about 10 employees, and we're doing about 2.5 million GCI per year plus. So last year we did over 500 transactions.
Wow, it's good going. When you say
Yeah.
GCI, there'll be a lot of people who don't understand what that means.
Yeah. Gross
GCI,
commission income. Yeah.
gross commission income. That's good going.
Yeah.
And in terms of the location specific that kind of the territory that you look after, is it the Calgary
Yeah.
area of?
You betcha. Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, our big vision and the brokerage we've aligned ourselves with, Real Broker. To give you guys, like to give your audience a good perspective in this, real estate, like any other industry, is changing. And I think a lot of people thought the change in real estate was going to be like the Zillow side, where you kind of get rid of agents and get rid of like that space of it. And what's really happening right now is it's brokerages that are changing. So you had your traditional models like Remax, Keller Williams, Century 21, and those models were very centric to the broker, that person individually. And so even in our city, you know, say there's 100 brokerages, there's 100 different owners with 100 different ways that they want to train, with 100 different ways they want to, implement new things and work for people. And you know, we're at a brokerage that changed the model where it basically said, hey, do you really need that guy to do this? Do you really need that guy to, because like in reality, we started learning and I never talk poorly of our brokerages because they've always been supportive for us, but they don't do what we do, which is like run a business in real estate. They run a brokerage, right? And so we moved over to Real Broker, and it's a brokerage that actually shares revenue with the agent. So instead of just the broker being like, hey, bring people, come work under me, it's more like, hey, we all work together collectively. And like as a team now, we've got better training, I'd say, than most brokerages in our city, because we're incentivized by it. Now there's actually a revenue share portion of it. So the better we make agents around us, the better we make people better agents, the better we do as a whole. And so it's a really cool, unique opportunity for us to kind of, do more than just sell real estate.
Right. Okay, I get you. And in terms of the backstory, normally what I like to do is just give the audience a little bit of sort of context. And you said before that you see yourself as an entrepreneur and marketer. What is your backstory? Like, what brought you into real estate in the first instance?
I think it's the opportunity, like, the abundance mindset. Like we can really there's no, and so that's the cool thing about this brokerage. We're not defined to just Calgary. That's kind of where our roots are. That's where our big team is. But we're already starting to expand in Arizona, Texas, and hopefully Florida. That's where we are right now. So we got some good contacts out here, because everything we can do is transplantable to these different areas. And so, I to jump back to what you're saying there, marketing's my thing, and that's where it's like when we saw there's a huge opportunity in the real estate space. Where like who's running like strong PPC campaigns, who's running if people aren't familiar with that, pay per click, who's running strong social media marketing, who's running any SEO. Like there was one single guy in our market, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's doing so good at SEO, and I'm like, because he's the only one doing it. I looked at what he's doing. He's the only one trying to actually acquire backlinks. Everyone else was doing I don't want to say the pot shop version of it, but like they blog, they do little things like that. But like the truly like building backlinks, connecting with other businesses, growing your portfolio and all that, your backlink portfolio, that he was doing that, and he was the only one. But he was the fastest growing agent, fastest growing team in Canada. So it was
So
like the
it
blueprint
works.
was in our city right there. Yeah, the
Yeah.
blueprint was right there. Yeah,
This is something that it's funny you say that because, like in the market that I'm in, Ireland, where I had a conversation not so long ago with an agent, Owen Riley, and he's actually used TikTok a lot in the last while, and
yeah,
what started out as a kind of fun experiment for him has actually turned into a genuine lead generation business because
yeah,
he actually sold a business recent or sold a property recently, 1.5 million value, and it was to somebody who discovered the property through TikTok, through his video.
yeah,
And he was like, you never would have thought that you thought you'd have to kind of like handhold somebody through the front door and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff to spend that kind of money on a property. But no, all done. And so tell us, in terms of and the other person actually, when I was speaking with Owen, the person that kind of came to mind, who is really kind of seen as a kind of market leader, is certainly in the New York market, is Ryan Serhant, obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
Ryan has come out of the gates and shown us all kind of how it's done. Tell us some of the stuff, some of the strategies that you're looking at. You mentioned pay per click there and SEO and stuff, but tell us some of the stuff that you've discovered that works very well.
yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I think there's two sides to that social media, like the way when you go that route with the TikTok, for example, because it's in our space, it's a little misleading because like I probably do 5 interviews a week on average for new agents to join our team, 3 to 5. And a lot of them come in and they're like, "Wow, I want to do video. I want to get on video, and and I believe in video. We pay a full time videographer. We're one of the only teams that do that. I guess we believe in it. We know there's currency there, but there's a lot of like illusion there too. So there's a lot of guys that like record really nice videos, and they're in all these show homes, and they're in these $1 million properties, but you still have to run a business. You still know to how to convert people, and drive traffic and follow up with people and like run a CRM because like the odd one-off things where you get that $1 million, $1.5 million. It's not very common. Like I got guys that are doing huge numbers on social, and they're not doing huge numbers in real estate. But on the flip side, and for me, I think YouTube's the space. Like if I was telling any agent to do anything, it's be the king of your like start small, start as small as you can. I think Gary Vee says it, but it's like everyone wants to be the billionaire, right? And have the billionaire dreams, and it's like start small, man, because there's so much money to be made just in your community, right? And like I'm in Florida right now, near Williamsburg, and if I was here, I would just be doing like what's going on around here and just talking just about this area because there's enough people and enough business and enough things. And once you own this area, move to the next. Go on to
Yeah.
the next. But and I think YouTube's the space for that because I mean TikTok, there's definitely room, definitely a lot of viewership, but YouTube, I feel like you can really put together the longer, more meaningful, engaging content. And like my business partner Dusko, that's kind of his mindset for this year, 2024. He's already been doing it, but like we have a YouTube coach we work with. We're working with a guy that's out of our market, actually, really successful mortgage broker who I think probably does no mortgage business himself now. He just like, but he has got a huge flow of business coming through because his YouTube channel consistently just content every week, always had something going. And that consistency just drew a crowd, right? And so my business partner, he's been doing that side of it and really doing that, like to own that Calgary market. And we're going to keep doing that. Like that's a big, I think that's a big play. But if I'm a new agent, I'm starting super local, hyper local, own a community, own like whatever neighborhood you're in, get every video so that if someone types in like whatever community to things to do, you're the guy that shows up for a video on it, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. So basically, niche down is the advice you get, and people are scared to niche down because they think, but what about all this opportunity? And you kind of
Yeah,
say, yeah, but you can't really become known unless you're known for something initially. And yeah,
exactly. And then, but on the flip side, if I'm doing a PPC campaign, I probably don't want to niche down too much, right? Because like, if I say like, I just was consulting with one of our guys out of Arizona, and I was looking at his campaign setup, and I was like, look at the volume of traffic that's actually searched on this. Like, you're hoping that you're going to capture, X% of this traffic, but this traffic's only like 100 to 200 people a month. So like, what are you going to actually see from that, right? And like, your conversion has to be on point. You have to really convert everyone. or you're going to be in a space where you're, spinning your wheels versus like, hey, get a bunch of people coming through. Start like, especially when you're getting going, like talk to as many people as you can. I'd rather generate 50 like on the fence, maybe like who knows where their intent is. But I mean, I'll tell you from experience, you can't predict it. Like anyone that tells me, like gets on a phone call that says like, I'm going to get you the highest, most best intent leads ever. I'm like, do it. I'll pay you half actually. I'll pay you a fortune for it because like it's worth it for us. The ROI is there, but I know you can't generate it any different than we can because realistically it involves like proper landing pages, high intent, the right like messaging for it. And like it's involved. It's not just there's no magic recipe to any of that, right? Like it's consistency and hard work always.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And tell me, Cody, in terms of artificial intelligence, like where do you see the benefits? I mean, obviously everyone's, all the talk of the town at the moment is all, chat GPT, this and that, and the amount of YouTube channels that are coming out of, what you can do with chat GPT. But has it translated into, actual content creation for you, or what are you using it for?
We're trying to do it in a bunch of different ways. So like I created a GPT, which like may sound cooler than it is, but it's really not that difficult. But the point of that was to take data right from our MLS and segment that data into a digestible way to understand it. So we have post tension cable condos in our city. I wanted to write a big blog about like what post tension cables are, what buildings in our city have it, what when they were built, how often they have sales, because that's like tangible data. But for me to have done that myself would have been,
Forever. Yeah.
a 30, 40 hour blog, right? But with the assistance of ChatGPT, it still was a 6, 7 hour writing of, it's 2, 3,000 words with like, right. And building up the GPT. But if I save, 75% of the time on it, it's worth it to do that. And then on the media side, I really see like, our editor, I think his biggest bottleneck is like our video guys is his editing. And so there's going to be huge advances. There already is. There's a company called Gling we use, which like will cut down a lot of your audio and like eliminate all the,
The ifs and
the
ands. Yeah.
silence and the dead words in it. Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think we're going to eventually be in a space where it's like, you'll be able to, cut your editing time down by 50, 60, 70%, which then, becomes more efficient and you get more production out of it, more content. Um, and we're using it even like we've used it just for creative purposes, like, the AI voice generating. So we've used it for voiceovers. We've done, funny videos where we had a building called the Drake and we used like a Drake voice. So it
Okay.
sounded like Drake was rapping for us, right? Like just stuff like that. But like it makes you stand out, right? Something I couldn't have done before without it. And there's one I just actually jumped into called Suno.ai, which like literally you do a prompt like ChatGPT or Mid Journey where image creation, and it pumps out a full song. Like it pumped out a country western song that I'm not kidding you. Like I played it to a girl who sings country, and she was like, "This is a great song," and I was like, "It's just," and it was like a 2 second prompt, right? So I see in the future, like we pay right now, say 50, $75 for a license on like Motion Array or whatever they are, right? Artlist.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll probably have like AI audio just created so that our listing videos are, it's endless. The opportunities are going to be endless. And I think the people that are going to succeed are the ones that are constantly pursuing the different avenues to push it. Like even thumbnails. We were hiring guys out of Fiverr to do thumbnails for Dusko's YouTube videos. And we're starting at the point now where like ChatGPT and Midjourney are pumping out like incredible, engaging, like the eye grabbing thumbnails that like stand out, and like that small difference, that small little tweak in it, right? When you're in the midst of 50 different things and titles, that one thing can make you really pump, right?
Yeah, it's so true, especially in YouTube, because it's funny. I have a small YouTube channel that I, put content out every now and then, but it's, it's difficult to get just even a couple of hundred views sometimes on YouTube. But on TikTok, one video can go viral overnight, and you can have 100,000 views on it. And so it seems like the guys in YouTube really make you work work for it.
They do, but but I do think though with TikTok, the virality of it's there, but I don't know if the conversion, like it depends what business you're in. In
Yeah.
our business, I don't think, but with that said, I'm going to be doing a lot of TikTok, but it's going to be geared more towards agent content. So I'm going to be talking to agents about AI, SEO, PPC, things that are going to resonate because of that attraction model we're at. Then there's actual like virality there. That's like, hey, like even these podcasts, I get after we're done, I get people reaching out randomly, going, hey, I listened to your podcast. This was great, and it's because like they shared a clip on TikTok, and that's all it was. They didn't even listen to the whole podcast. They just heard that little clip, and they were like, that was great info. And then now I'm networking, talking about all that, right? Masterminding in this industry is it's unbelievably valuable, right? And like everybody does their business differently and it operates differently, but this industry, like getting someone else's 50,000 hours where they've actually done it, experienced it, and can give you, and you just got to know you're getting valid, genuine advice. That's my only caveat to that, because like sometimes people in this industry might lead you a little astray.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is that, the conversation that we're having is, for somebody who is a marketer, this is very, very routine kind of conversation for you. But for somebody who's listening in, who doesn't have a clue what we're talking about, for somebody who is thinking, I'd love to start my business, where do I start? Like, what would be the low hanging fruit that I can begin with without getting into all that kind of complex stuff that is more advanced? For example, SE, like people be wondering, what does he like? I don't even know what SEO stands for, search engine optimization.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what does that mean in terms of, breaking it down to real simplicity, and what have you seen work?
Well, I'll say this: like when we started this business, it was a like we could go with just one thing, which is that like the PPC, the pay per click advertising on Google in our space, it works. And so if you learn how to convert leads, you learn how to talk to people, and you learn how to and work within a good CRM, there should be an ROI on that, right? A good ROI. But if you have lofty goals where you're like, hey, I want to be in this for 5, 10 years, I want to have like a long business. I don't want to be just selling all my life, because like for me, I love working with people. I love, sales and all that, but like, I don't want to be doing sales my whole life, right? I want to be doing the business side of it. I want to be doing stuff like this. This is what fills my heart versus, going out and seeing homes, especially -40, right?
Yeah.
And so, we like for us it was very much like we've got to have multiple approaches to it. We can't just do PPC, we can't just do SEO, we can't just do like social media. Everything needs to be good, everything needs to be going, and then nurture whatever it is that fills your because like realistically, if an agent came to me in our market and he said, I'm willing to door knock every day in the summer, I'd be like, do it. You'll be successful. Be honest with yourself, get feedback, maybe get someone to come with you to hear like, your cadence and what you're saying. And like, because like sometimes like the littlest things can make you, I always say, this is my biggest example, like with PPC, the online conversion. The first thing, if an agent's calling, and this is super small, super simple, but like the difference between saying, hey, is this like, so the lead's name is Kelly, right? If I call them, I say, hey, is this Kelly? That right away they're on guard. They're going, who is this person? How, like, why are they asking if it's me? Right? Versus like, hey, Kelly, this is Cody. You just signed up on our website. I wanted to reach out. I knew you were looking in this area. And like, you don't even give them a chance to object. I'm now addressing everything they're doing. I know what homes they were looking at. And now I'm starting to give them value. I'm saying, did you know that in your area there's a lot of poly B? Have you ever talked about that? Like, what's poly B? Great.
Straight
Now
into a
I've got
question.
something, right? And now I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you value. And if you do that properly, the person's at the end of the call is going to go, so how do I work with you? Right? Versus like you being like, so when do you want to buy a house? And what's your timeline like? Like it doesn't,
Yeah, I get you.
and it's a huge thing, right? If you can't be honest with yourself, if you can't like take that feedback or listen or record and like give it to someone and say like, crush me, tell me how bad I did in this call, you won't get better.
Yeah. The other thing as well is, one of the things that we were, myself and Owen, when we had this conversation about Ryan Serhant, is that he's obviously got natural camera presence and things like that. Not
Hmm.
everybody has that advantage of
Yeah.
looking and sounding and, so confident. What in terms of somebody who is, camera shy, and is there any kind of strategy that you suggest for those people who don't want to be, the out there on social media? Like, what is a handy strategy that you've found?
I mean, I may date myself on this one because what we're January, right? But we'll see. I think the big thing right now is the like people being genuine because we saw such a huge influx. Like last year, I'd say around like I don't know when, like say Q2, Q3, everybody had like high end professional videos, and especially in our market, like it was like this influx of people in the summer that were like, oh, I guess they're doing video like it's nobody's business. And the quality was like it was the quality was going up, but the like it was all over. I'm like, okay, now it's starting to actually get into a very like same space, like we're all the same, right? And the people that started standing out were just people doing genuine things, like shit. Like, have you ever heard Sam Sulek, the
Yes.
weightlifting guy? Huge following. What does he do? He's just a genuine dude sharing his thing. So I'm like, if I'm a realtor, especially if I've got a good like sphere of influence of people like, I come from a new home sales or I come from car sales, something where I've got a good following already. Just be yourself. If you're a good person, share your day, share what you're doing, and you
Authenticity.
don't have to put on an act, right? That like I mean, for me, like it's probably a little different because I think it's like it's different in every market. But try finding like authentic people who are willing to open up and be honest and like share themselves with you in real life. It's not as common as you think it is anymore, right? People are really a lot more reserved. We live in the friendliest city in the world. I think it's been dubbed, right? And so that's where I think it's a little different because like I come to the U.S. and it's a little more like not saying people aren't friendly here, but it's a little more like, hey, why are you talking to me versus like, right? And so I think if you can capture that authenticity of like, if you're a good person, you'll really start to resonate with your sphere. And like I said, you don't need to be, the guy that's got a million subscribers and having this following around the world. You need to be the king of your community, right? The king of your area. And like that, that I think goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
Will go a long way for people.
And tell us this, Cody, in terms of, moving the conversation over from, from the business side to the actual market, like the Calgary, well, so let's talk about the Canadian market in general. I mean, for years
Yeah.
it was doing great. Has it been impacted by the higher interest rates around the world and things like that? Like, tell us what your perspective of the Canadian market.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, I'm a big believer in just buying real estate and holding it. One of the biggest things I say, like, and the reason for this is because like what we're starting to see now, like post COVID was kind of eye opening for me because I thought, even during COVID, we were going to see some real like pain and suffering in the market.
Yeah.
And we were protected a little bit by the lower interest rates, but then when we started going into the higher interest rates, I was like, okay, now there's going to be pain for sure. The prices in our city have only gone up, and prices in like Toronto or Vancouver, which are your very unique markets, Vancouver's still going up. Toronto's come down a little bit, but as a whole, they're like, you're not seeing these crazy, and like you read online, people saying like, I'm waiting for the market to crash. I wouldn't, I
Yeah.
wouldn't,
You'd be
like
waiting a long time.
I,
Yeah.
you could be waiting your whole life, right? And like, I remember reading when I was 18, getting out of high school and I was like, oh, okay, how much is a house, right? With my girlfriend at the time, I was like, how much is a house? And I'm like, holy moly, how can anyone afford this? They're twice as much now, right?
Yeah.
And like, but at the time, I read people going, prices have gone up. Like, and at the time, they basically had almost doubled. And I was like 20 years ago, it was like, at the time, I was like, oh, they got to come back down. Like, there's no way they could jump up that much and then they're going to come down. And I've learned in my experience, once things go up, it's very hard for them to come down, and like rent has skyrocketed. And I go, who's going to be the landlords that, put their places on the market and go, hey, I'd like to take less money now. Right. It's just like, and so the only thing that can really affect that is like mass emigration out of the country or mass, like, right. Or real suffering with the interest rates. But, I don't know if that's going to actually happen. I think we're going to see a continuous push and like markets. Like if I were given advice, I'd probably say for me at least, I'm probably going to move to not move, but purchase in the Edmonton market, which is a city north of us, because it's a very similar city, but its prices are significantly less than ours. And I see it just being. I think we're going to get to a stage in Canada where like the baseline of like a $500,000 house is just very normal, all markets, and then the bigger markets, it's going to be more like 8, 9, a million kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen that here in our country, in Ireland. We just have this unsolvable housing crisis. And it
Mm-hmm.
actually stems from 2008. With the crash in 2008, the market just the construction industry just came to a complete standstill. And so there was nothing built for about 5 years. And in that
Yeah.
period of 5 years, um, there's this structural shortage now in the market that no matter how many houses they try to build, they can't catch up with the demand that's there
Yeah.
because every year more people migrate to the country, all this kind of stuff. So it's becoming a real political situation.
Yeah.
The government are like, oh my God, we've got to do something about this. So it seems, and that seems to be what's happening in a lot of the developed world is, the older housing stock is not as attractive to a lot of people as well because it's not well insulated, it's more expensive to heat and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And the newer homes. I've just moved into a new house here in Dublin, and it's the highest rated energy rating that you can get in the new ratings that they have. But I have no doubt in 10 years' time that this will be a mediocre kind of level and there'll probably be, new standards and stuff. So it's constantly improving. Um, Cody, in terms
Do you
of,
guys get a lot of infills in your market? Like, do you get like so? What we see is once an area is kind of matured and hit its like final stages, the older homes like the war era bungalows, things like that, they start getting torn down, and then they put in so like and I don't know what your lots are like, but like before, like when we were building, get like now homes are built and it's like let's squeeze as much as possible, give no
oh yeah,
backyard, zero lot lines, right? But before it was like 50-foot wide lots with that are deep. So, but the upside now is like they're all zoned, so you can demo two and put up six townhomes on them kind of thing, or
that's
four
what I'm
duplexes
seeing.
kind
I
of thing.
mean, in the area where I grew up, there's a couple of examples. So I built a couple of houses. I bought a house on 1.5 acres. I guess it's like at this stage, maybe 20 years ago. And I built four large, I kept the original old house, carved up the garden, and then created like four big, huge 5 bedroom kind of, very, very substantial houses. And that was perfectly
Cool.
acceptable. And it was the right thing to do at the time. Like we made a lot of money selling those. And then more recently, in the last kind of 5 years or so, I bought another site of about 1.5 acres. And I was thinking to do exactly the same thing. I thought this is the market. It's not far from that original site that I was talking about. And the planning densities have increased so much that the smallest number of units we could put on the site was 30 units. And so
Wow.
it's gone from four houses to 30 apartments essentially. And that is just down to densities and everything. And then near just down the road from that site, there's another house that went up for sale a couple of years ago, and it was an old house. I grew up in this area, so I know this old house. I used to walk past it every day on the way to the school bus, and they knocked it down and they've built seven townhouses on it. And
Yeah.
like this was one house, and now it's seven townhouses, and each of the townhouses is 4 stories high. And so it's, they're big houses, but they're all like
Yeah.
compressed into this site. So it is kind of amazing how things have changed. And
Similar, right? I mean, I don't want to put my conspiracy hat on, but I think it's like it's happening all over the place, and like even in some markets now, you basically have two things being built. Like in Vancouver, it's like tiny little condos or giant mansions for rich people, and there's
yeah,
not a lot of in between, right? And I mean, it's good if you're in the market and you're holding because you're going to benefit from it. But I feel bad, like, and this is so when I say to all my friends, I'm like, if you can do anything for your kids now, like the traditional mindset when I grew up was like, put some money away for your kids so they can go to school one day, right? So they can have a good college education. And I'm like, you know what? Like AI may kill school. And school may be free, like with the way that with the way that North America is going, right? They're trying to make it free. So it's like, I'm like, not screw school, but like buy your kid a place, rent it out, and hold it so that when they're 18, 20, and they want to leave the
they've
house,
got something. Yeah,
they've got something. They've got an option, right? Even if it's not paid off, but like if it's there, they're in the market. You're getting your kids in the market. And to me, like I don't know. Like when you look at it this way, I mean, I think 20 years from now, it seems unachievable, but I mean, we lived the 20 years and it doubled. So it may work out, but I'm telling everybody, if you can pick up a property for your kids and hold it so that like they aren't going to be in like, they don't have to be in that position to wonder
yeah.
where they're going to be at.
Yeah. Cody, one of the things that I like to do is just I like to talk about the kind of the mindset side of things. And I mean, we were talking about the abundance mindset, and obviously, clearly, you have an abundance mindset from the discussion that we've had. But are there any other mindsets and kind of habits and things that you've brought to your business that you think have allowed you to kind of stand out and excel?
I mean, I don't know how it won't come across not sounding like conceited in a way, but I think like this industry, I don't want to say it's greedy, but there's a lot of like how much money can I make in it, and our approach has not been like the let's take the lion's share, right? And so Dusko and I like probably could be a lot more wealthy than we are, but our mindset is like the more we give back into our people, the more we give back into our business, the more it will give back to us, and like we're always one day away from reset zero in a way. Like everyone could leave us and walk away. I've seen it happen where teams lose half their people. Like who knows, right? But our mindset is like the more you invest in your systems and processes in a system in your business, it's just there's no stopping the return. And so like for us, it's always like keep pushing, keep offering value, and like everyone I think is always like, and we're definitely client value mindset, but like what's the value for our agents? What's the value for people to be with us, and especially in our space because like these aren't employees; these are contractors who are under us who are running their own businesses, and so our goal is. I heard someone say this once in our industry, and it killed me because they said it from a negative standpoint, which was like, I want to create pain of separation from people on our team so that they can't leave our team. Meaning like,
I get
they
you.
control them just enough. And I'm like, like that kills me to hear. Right. And my mindset is the same thing, I'll say the same thing that I want to make it so hard for them to leave because we make it so valuable. So they sit there and go, why would I take on all these expenses? Why would I try and hire this person? Why would I do this when all I have to do is show up, do the real estate job side of it,
Yeah.
and execute that? And frankly, it then allows people to have quality of life and balance that you like may not otherwise have because like we get people who leave our team and it's very much like I think they're like, hey, see you later, like sucka, like we're gonna go, and it's like, hey, like you use me, talk to me about what it's like. If you're going to leave, don't just leave. Talk to me what it's like about running a business because like you're going into a territory that you haven't been in, and you may want to know some things that are going to actually like help you grow that, right? And so, yeah,
It's
I
so
think
true.
like,
It's so true, Cody, what you're saying because I had a friend of mine on the podcast a while back, and we were talking about sales, and he's a consummate salesperson. He was always when he worked for other people, he was always the number one salesperson in their entire organization. They'd be like number one every year, without doubt. So knows how to sell. And he said, you know what, I'm going to set up my own business and I'm going to absolutely smash it out of the park. And so he set up the
mhm,
business, and suddenly he realizes that, oh, I can't sell 8 hours a day anymore. I have to, look after payroll, and I got to
yeah,
go and hire people, and I got to train people, and I got to go. And suddenly he realized, whoa, now I
yeah,
understand like what's involved here. And you end up
yeah,
selling maybe for 3 hours of the day. And so you have to
yeah.
compress everything into a much tighter schedule.
And I also think that's where people really have to look at like what fills your gas tank because like he probably loves sales and loved that element of it. And then he sits down and does payroll and like there's parts of my business I hate writing. I hate blogging. Like I genuinely hate it. But it has to be done. And like as much as like we outsource a lot of it, but like there's still and this is the thing too, like I always say my one of the biggest mindsets I can have is like nothing's ever good enough. And there is a level of like efficiencies in there, but like if I get a blog from my writer, I could easily just copy paste and be done. Or I could take just an extra 30 minutes, add to it, add some personal like experience to it, add a bit more like actual local relevant knowledge. And then it's that much better, right? But it's easy just to press that like go button,
Send.
right? Especially when you start getting spread thin, right? And that's where like this brokerage model, like our top sales guy is not a sales guy. Like he was not a sales guy. But he was so consistent and pragmatic, like what he did, and he knew the system. Just make your calls, follow up with clients, and follow the system. Top sales guy, right? But it killed him. He just doesn't love that, right? That's not what like
Yeah.
drives and gives him purpose. And we are able to switch him into an operational role, and now he's running like a huge core of the business. But like if our mindset was like, hey, we want to take this rev share and not because like you can structure where you put people under, we could just said, sorry, man, like you got to do it on your own. You got to figure out your own stuff. Or we share the wealth with him. And then all of a sudden we've got a guy who's now working in our business all the time, who's keeping it like he's invaluable to the business. Right. And you like the greed mindset, we wouldn't be able to keep someone like that, period.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned Gary V earlier, and I've been watching Gary V since like second year in the Wine Library TV, if you remember back. And are there any other people like that you recommend that people would follow in terms of staying abreast of the market?
you know, I won't recommend anyone in particular. For me, when I'm working, I'll throw on YouTube or a podcast all day because I can listen and work. And if you can do that, like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not doing that. And pick who resonates with you because like Gary, I talk to some people and I hate that guy. I hate his mindset. I hate this, da da da. And like, and it's like, not there is no one size fits all for everyone. But I would say like, especially like in your industry, find who's the leader of it and just start following those people. I have a special account on like Instagram, TikTok that is just a dummy like burner account. But like I don't want that algorithm to get touched, and I just follow specific people on there so I can load that up, and find content, find inspiration or whatever. Because like if I go on my Instagram, I'm getting a gamut of things that and it's a waste of time, right? And it's like truly, I don't even like social media. I go on it just to post and then get some good content, but like I can't do the scrolling and listen like just randomness because if I hit like three things that I'm like, what am I doing? I'm instant. I gotta do something productive. It's a waste of time. It's so wasteful, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so true. And Cody, I'm looking at the time. I'll keep us on time here. But in terms of advice that you've received over your career, like, does anything stand out as really stellar advice that you're glad you were able to get it from somebody?
I think the biggest thing is like keep that open mindset to anything. It's so easy. I'm around people all the time that like, especially like if you even look at like politics, or whatever, like it's so divisive, right? And I think that then transcends into business sometimes, where people like, they're like, someone will call you and they're like, hey, I got an opportunity. And like, I get a bunch of dumb calls all the time, but like, I explore a lot of them because you don't know. And like, I've met some people. I got an email once from a guy and it was just like, hey, here's this product. And it sounded so gimmicky or whatever. And then I just like engaged with him on it. It's really helped one core of our business. And the guy that I'm networking with is a brilliant dude. And I feel like he's like the American version of me. And so I'm like, this is a great person that I've now networked with, probably going to get his real estate license again and like go into real estate himself. And I'm like, this is a great, like, if I had just closed that door and been like, I'm too busy or whatever, wouldn't even be exploring that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Actually, I meant to ask you on social media. You didn't mention LinkedIn. Is that a portal that you're looking at all, or what do you think of it?
Well, I used to be in recruiting, and so for a while there, I had the biggest like LinkedIn just go right, and it served that business very very well. I think I probably have over 15,000 connections on my LinkedIn just because it was like constant, like every day I was just constant connect. And LinkedIn actually, like early on, I actually have messages from LinkedIn saying like, we're going to ban you if you keep adding people the way I was. It was like a very like, and I got to the like last warning and I was like, yeah, I got to stop. Right. But I truthfully think like, and this is a part where it's like, I have 100 avenues I could explore in my business. And it's like, which one do you nurture? And if I could hire like 10 people tomorrow, like LinkedIn, I'd probably be like, get on my LinkedIn and just start connecting and networking with people. Or like, even our social media, like there's so much room to improve on it, and always grow, but it's just like, which plants are you nurturing? But LinkedIn, I think, well, I'll tell you right now, for SEO purposes, I know there are some unique avenues in it where people are, boosting articles on there and it's getting good results. But on the networking side, I've had good success on it. It's just something I haven't unfortunately nurtured like I should have,
Yeah.
in the real estate space.
Which you think, going back to earlier in the conversation, you think YouTube is where it's at? Yeah.
I mean, if I'm an agent getting in and I'm just starting, I think YouTube, and then and so the way I would structure it is film for YouTube, break it down for all the other stuff. Like film a piece of content that's great for YouTube, and then micro it out to your other ones like TikTok, and find something that's right, that's going to have maybe some humor in it, right? That like take that part out of it or of it and like use that as a teaser or whatever. But I think in real estate right now, if I were going all in, I'd be more in the YouTube space than anywhere else because I've seen a lot of guys on TikTok get a lot of views. Like I'm talking guys that have millions upon millions of views, and they're not doing the business that reflects that because I think they're
Yeah.
getting it from, you could get 50% of reviews from India or Ireland, and that's not like going to
It's
serve
not
you,
conducive.
right?
Well, the other thing is, I heard somebody talking about this recently, and it resonated with me. Is that the reason I asked you about LinkedIn is that when people are on LinkedIn, they're there because there's a business sort of rationale behind it. Whereas if
Mm-hmm.
you're scrolling through TikTok, it's entertainment on in your mind, and so people are
Yeah.
kind of scrolling looking for something funny to watch. So if you're in there now, to be honest, I have a quite a big TikTok following, and I've had some videos that have gone sort of viral, and I kind of wonder why that is sometimes. But between TikTok and LinkedIn, they're the two largest profiles that I have. And then the one that I would like, which is the YouTube one, is the one that's the toughest to get. And then
Yeah.
I see Instagram Reels now. It's like it has become TikTok. It's like there's no longer any
Yeah.
stationary photographs. It's all movement, all video.
And YouTube Shorts now. I think that's one way to. The thing is, like, I'll tell you right now, I think Instagram is a little bit like you can be a little bit tactical. I think TikTok, I don't think there's a real like tacticalness with the algo. I think it's very much like if it hits, But YouTube, like you can be, that's where like if you really want to be intentional and have like purpose, it's the one platform where I think you can go in and be like, hey, I can carve out a specific audience to what I want to,
Yeah,
narrate to, right?
that's interesting. All right, well,
Yeah.
Cody, I'm going to ask my final question is always one that people like to kind of it can stump you. But what age are you now?
Mm.
In your late 30s or something?
38. Yeah.
38. So let's, imagine an opportunity to speak with 18-year-old Cody, and you have this opportunity to kind of allow Cody Jr. to sidestep some of the issues and stuff. What advice would you give your younger self?
Ah, that's a good one, man. I think for me personally, it would have been like I said earlier, but maybe being a bit more like when I was 18, I thought I was the smartest man in the world. When I was 25, I thought I was, and so on. And then as you get older, you have kids, you start realizing like the world changes, your perspective changes, and you mature. And I think I'd be more open to just learning things and being like taking other people's advice in that. I think I was like very much like a lone ranger who was trying to solve the world on my own kind of thing. And I think I should have done an approach. Like, I got into real estate actually straight out of high school, as someone's like personal assistant. And I should have at that point, like taken that experience and gone to someone else. But instead I let it like jade me a little and not like, and it was just like on to the next. Right. And it was like, it just, there was no real tactical approach or thought into what I was doing. It was like, hey, and I think if I had just said like, what, like sit down, like, what do you want to do? How are you going to achieve this? What are the practical steps? And then once I have that, go to someone who knows it and say, like, I'm here. Tell me, do you think this is going to work? Is this going to be, and then go ask someone else and then go ask another person. Cause like I got guys in our industry who've been doing it for 10, 15 years that would give you the worst advice. The worst advice I ever got when I got in this industry, a guy came up to me from our brokerage, Peebles brokerage, and said, my biggest thing is like go into the mall, start shaking hands with people, just introducing yourself. And I was like,
Weird,
right. And at the time I was like,
creepy.
right. But like, and that's right. It's weird, the weirdest thing if someone did that. Right. But like, there are agents who would take that advice and say like, this guy knows the business. And so it's like, you gotta be passionate about being the best. And if you take that mindset into it, I feel like but I'll tell you right now, man, like my biggest advice to anybody is show up every day, be like honest to your business, like truly work, like I've been in the office environments and you see the people who like are there for 40 hours a week and put in 3 hours of work. And we have people like in the industry ourselves, like guys that have been on our team that like, they're like, hey, I take this really serious. And then it's like, how many hours you work this week? And they're like barely getting 20 in. And I'm like, that's not, dude, I run this business. I could work less. I still work 40 to 60 hours every week. but I also carve it so that I'm not like, ditching my kids and wife. Like I stay up late. I like the amount of times I stay up late. It's probably not healthy, but like I'm up till 2 a.m. all the time. But it's because I'm passionate about what I do and I want to see results. A lot of people don't have that to do that, right? But if you can find that motivation to truly, if you can find it, right? It's not even a gross grind. That's why like I love what I do, so it's easy to do it. If I hated what I did, if it was door knocking, I don't like door knocking. I couldn't door knock for 60 hours a week, right? But all the things I love doing, I could do them all day. It's easy to work, I think, when you love it, truly. Like I'd sit in front of my computer all day,
Yeah. That's so true. Well, look, Cody, anyone who's interested in learning more about you or connecting or something, what's the best way to find more?
My LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. I somehow landed Calgary Real Estate Agent for it, so it's just Calgary Real Estate Agent, and then obviously our team. If you want to see what our team's doing, Rep YYC, Rep Real Estate Partners. That's our team name, and then YYC is our airport code, like the JFK, whatever, right?
Okay,
and so
cool.
this is our local branding, Rep Your City kind of thing. That was our play on that.
Rep YYC. Okay, well, I'll put some links in the show notes anyway. But Cody, thanks so much for your time. It's been really interesting having a chat.
Gavin, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Facade. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please connect with me via the Facebook group that is called Behind the Facade Community. Alternatively, you will find me on social media. My handle is Gavin J. Gallagher. You can stay up to date with all of my content and the various projects I'm working on over on my website, gavinjgallagher.com. And while you're there, please do add your name to the Join My Tribe thing over on the right-hand side. This will ensure you're kept up to date via my weekly newsletter. All of these links are in the show notes below. That's all for now. I will see you guys in the next episode.